Activision devs do not play their own game. It's not your dad doesn't support you.
You should know, you worked at a coffee shop, you stupid bitch.
My name is Casey, and absolutely not fucking Tanner, because my parents don't hate me that much.
Hey, did they have just 8 patches lined up, but they just didn't release them because they were on break? No, you moron kids.
Then we'll, of course, get into it. Change your fucking name and get scammed. He's feeling under the weather.
I probably won't say another word until Stay Humble, so have a good pod, Raz. I'll be here listening.
Got it. We are live. Welcome, boys and girls. We should start saying girls and boys. Be equitable, you know? Why do we always start with boys?
Because you're an asshole.
Haven't men had enough? Men fell off, really. Welcome, girls and boys. And we'll edit the boys and girls out of all of our past episodes, in fact, to the Dropshot Call of Duty podcast, episode number 200 and also 20. My name is Casey, also known as Razinon. I am joined, once again, wearing the same hat as always, of course, by my good friend Tanner.
Got it.
Tanner, how's it going, little tiny fucking... Don't do that. Don't make peace signs. Don't do it so casually like it's no
peace
big
and love,
deal
baby.
to you. And don't
Peace
do it like
love,
Nixon either. You got to keep it backwards, if anything. Which is what you originally did.
All peace and love here.
You just need to not do it. All right. You know what? Let's start over. Activision devs do not play their own. No. Okay. Welcome to the show. So if you're new here, we timestamp the episodes. You can skip to whatever you want to skip to. In this case, that would be this fucking disaster. And hopefully you've already skipped and you didn't even have to listen to this preamble. But again, if you're new, you probably were subjected to this absolute drivel, and I apologize on Tanner's behalf because it is, of course, his fault. Now, today we're doing something a little different. Tanner and I were unsure what we were going to do today. And we're doing something a little, as I said, different. It's going to be sort of a Q&A, but not in the sense that you guys might be familiar with. We asked on Twitter, what Warzone-related questions do you guys have right now? We tweeted this like an hour ago. And we got some questions. And then we've also been asking... And one person responded. And we got some questions as well from Twitch chat. Warzone related, and we're going to answer them today. And the purpose of this is, as we've been talking about in the last few Q&As we've done, we are deeply behind. I mean, we're seasons behind. We're not merely months behind. We're fucking seasons behind, right? We're getting questions pre-solstice, and we're post-solstice now. I mean, it's been too long, right? So we're still going to get caught up on those and do those normally. But we wanted to take this opportunity to answer super topical questions. Because if you're asking a question today, then, and we answer it in the same day, it's obviously going to be more germane to what is going on in Warzone right now. So it can perhaps have some more utility. That, of course, depends on the questions, but that was the idea anyway. So that's what we're doing. And if you are here live and you want to ask a Warzone related question, feel free to do so. And we will add it to our doc and potentially get to it. But we're going to start with Twitter. And if you wanted to ask, in fact, a question on Twitter, this is where we're going to answer them first from today. You can do that. I linked the tweet in chat right now. So you can go ask something of us over there. And make sure you follow the goddamn Twitter account at the Dropshot Pod while you're there.
True.
So keep that in mind. I mean, there's no excuse that I and Tanner both have more followers on our personal accounts than our podcast account. How and why? Change it. So if you're following me on my personal Twitter, unfollow me. Go follow me on the podcast Twitter. Don't unfollow me. Do both. Just follow on both. It's so simple. And then make alt accounts, follow on those, create a bot, a Twitter bot farm, excuse me, and spam follow, because I don't give a shit if anyone's real. I just want the clout with the numbers, followers, rather. That's all I care about. I don't give a shit about anything else. So anyway, if you guys want to ask a question, you can do it there. Besides that, only real announcement I have is that the Raiden gameplay breakdown is now live. So this is a Patreon benefit we used to have. People would submit gameplay, we would break it down. Raiden, RDNWZ, is a friend of the pod. He's on Team Revosect, plays on keyboard and mouse, and he's better than everyone listening. Extremely good, and his gameplay breakdown was super fun to do. And instead of critiquing his gameplay, it's really just pointing out all the smart things he does. And that's fun to do for a gameplay breakdown, because it's quite different than most of them, as you can imagine, because most players aren't as good as he is, obviously. So if you want to check that out, it is now live. Go to the YouTube gameplay breakdowns playlist. It's going to be the latest one. And then we also did Drexler's, which was up like a day or two before his. So those are both now live, if you're into that. Other than that, I don't think I have any more announcements. Tanner, do you?
Nope.
Got it. If you're listening for the jingle, here it is. Let's get into it. I say we start with the Twitter, Tanner. What do you think?
Let's get started. Yeah, whatever.
Let's start with
whatever
the absolute
you think,
Twitter. All right, cool. So first one here is from Jax Nielsen, friend of the pod. And let your girlfriend know, Jax, at Razinon on Twitter. DMs are in fact open. He asks, do you think Warzone maps are too big, or are they properly sized? What if they're too small, Jax? What if I thought that? You're not going to give me that option? What are your thoughts, Tanner, on the size of Warzone maps?
So this has kind of been the topic of Caldera since it launched, is the map isn't any bigger, technically, than Verdansk, but it feels too big because as you're running up hills, you're running slower. If you're used to running around quick everywhere and you're slide canceling all around the place, you can't do that running up these hills. So the time it takes you to run 500 meters in average is it takes more time than on Verdansk. And I think that's kind of what makes it feel too big, even though it's not actually bigger. Obviously, the balloons helped with that a lot, but that didn't fix the issue of the elevation everywhere on Caldera. So I think if anything, I didn't think Verdansk needed more people. I would be open to them upping. Well, actually, I would like for them to up the player counts on Caldera. I just know it'll never happen. It's the same reason consoles don't have a field of view slider. Putting an extra, people are expecting like 200 people on Caldera.
Remember that meme? Yeah.
Consoles you can't increase the field of view because the devs said, quote, it'll be like a, no, I don't even remember what they said.
It's a technical issue.
They said it'll be a slideshow, essentially, is what they said, because it'll drop your frames so much.
Which is what we said. Yeah.
If you think they can't do that, but yet they can add 50 more people and that same console can run that, you're just absolutely wrong. The game would have way too many issues. I'm sure we'd be introduced to a bunch of crashing issues, bunch of bugs from having that amount of people. So there'd be more fights going on with that, but then also it's like Caldera is already just full of third partying, so that problem would also just get worse. So I think realistically the maps are the ideal size. I think Verdansk was about perfect for the player count. Caldera, we could use more players. Because even it's like, even if you cut off some of the POIs, like say runway or whatever, the one that's in the top right, it's like no one lands there. So that you could make the map smaller that way, but it wouldn't affect anything because people don't ever go there. A helicopter spawns there every game. Hardly anyone lands there and grabs it. It's just a dead part of the map. So like you could just cut those areas off completely. It wouldn't change the flow of the map or anything at all.
True.
Though. So that would be making the map smaller, but it wouldn't impact the gameplay. So yeah, I think, you know, all in all, they're the right size. It's just Caldera. It'd be great if we could slide cancel up a hill so you can move around faster. I know it's someone's gonna say, oh, because the realism or some shit, you can't slide up a hill. Duh. It's Warzone though. I don't care about that. I would love the ability to just be able to do that anywhere, and that would make it feel a lot faster too. And then the maps, or the map, be the correct size.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with most of what Tanner said. On adding more people to Caldera, it's big enough to support more people, especially because of how much elevation there is. But because there's so little loot, it actually feels hotter than Verdansk ever did most of the time, especially lately. I'm just getting third-partied on Caldera and pushed by third parties way more often than I ever did on Verdansk. And I think the reason for that is because there are like 3 places to go for loot on Caldera. So you either go there and you're going to have to fight everyone else in the lobby right away, or you don't go there and you never buy a loadout. So it's like, yeah, the map is bigger, in fact, because of the elevation changes, but people are fighting in way smaller areas because there are way fewer places people are willing to land. So I wouldn't want more. I wouldn't want more people on Caldera unless they actually added loot to the whole map. And then Caldera, I think, would be really good at supporting more people. But as it stands, I don't know. But anyways, on the topic of, is the map too big? Yeah, Verdansk was like a perfect size for 150 people. Caldera is technically the same size as Tanner said, but because of the elevation, it's not really functionally. Because, I mean, if you think about it, like, you know, if I'm on a football field and it's flat and I go from end zone to end zone, I have to run 100 meters. Okay, now put a giant fucking hill at the 50-yard line. Well, now I have to run 120 meters because I have to run up and then back down. So I'm taking more steps. I'm traveling longer distance, literally, even though as the crow flies, it's still 100 meters. That's the story of Caldera. And I wish Caldera, I like the elevation, like, changes and all of the different, you know, heights of everything. That's cool. And I like that it's less flat than Verdansk. But we've overdone it, haven't we? I wish the peaks of Caldera were 40% shorter, and I wish the valleys were 40% higher. Then Caldera would still be more terrainy than Verdansk was, but not so much that it's just an insurmountable task getting into the next circle. That's what I think would be ideal, because Caldera almost does feel too big a lot of times based on how dog shit the circles are and how uphill and then downhill and then back uphill you have to go. And this is compounded by the fact that some of these uphill areas you can't run up. So you have to either run around it and take like a way longer route than if you could just climb straight up, or you have to like rappel up and get fucking ripped while you're doing that. So it really is like you have to travel more on Caldera.
Yeah.
The map's the same size, but you have to move your character way more, and it's way slower getting into zone. And with how dog shit the circles have been lately, it feels so bad. So I don't think Caldera's too big. I think it's just too mountainous. And
then you get to those spots where it's just like a straight cliff, and where on Verdansk, if that was just a small hill, let's say on like above Salt Mine or something, you would just keep running straight up that hill at a little bit slower speed. But it's like now I have to run 50 meters to my left or right just to get to the edge of where the cliff is, and then I have to turn around and run up. So it takes you so much longer. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
You're just taking way more steps in one game on average.
Mm-hmm. So that's what I think the problem with Caldera is, yeah. Like, they made it the same size as Verdansk, but they didn't, because they don't play their own game, right? They didn't think about how long it would take to get into zone if you have peak in the middle of you. Good luck, man. Like, I mean, you might as well travel to Verdansk. It'll be faster. So, anyway, good question. All right, next. This is a good question from Oxford J. In it. Would you rather play Verdansk with all the recent changes implemented on it, or Caldera before the balloons? Oh, this is okay. Never mind. Or Caldera before the balloons health change and ghost nerf. This is the easiest question I've ever seen. So Verdansk with all the good changes, or Caldera when it was none of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you were going somewhere when you meant current Caldera.
Yeah,
that would have been a better. I mean, obvious. Yeah, we thought you did something there.
Yeah.
You didn't. You didn't.
Yeah.
You didn't, Jack. Verdansk with all of the good changes, obviously, in my opinion. Not even fucking close.
Yeah.
Now, let's say he had asked Caldera right now or Verdansk with all these changes. I think I'm still taking Verdansk at that point. It'd be interesting to see how that plays out. That, I think, on Verdansk with 300 health would feel more like Caldera with like 350 health. Because if you're fighting around all these buildings, people constantly going in and out of buildings and whatnot, running through, going upstairs, jumping out a window, having all this time to stim and plate up and get away from you, it's going to make the time to kill feel really, really slow. And so that would be fun to play with, in my opinion. But I don't know, like the more I play Caldera, I still think it's good, but I never thought Verdansk was bad. Raz is a fucking idiot, and I told him that at the end of Verdansk when he was saying how bad of a map it was. It wasn't bad. It's just that's the only thing we had played for a year and a half, and I was like, oh, let's get something new going in here. But they're different for their own reason. And like the other argument is, we had said a lot that Caldera is like a proper BR map, which is definitely true. But a lot of other people have made a good point in that Warzone was never like a typical classic BR though, and it wasn't supposed to be. And if it was like a classic BR, it wouldn't have nearly been as popular as it was. So it's like I don't know where I stand on that anymore. But anyways, I think I would rather play Verdansk with all these changes. I think that could be very fun, because balloons alone would take away the issue with all like the buildings, because you can just land on someone's roof. The mantling too, there would be so many other windows and like rooftops you could just mantle on and then push people that way.
The increased health would make it even more impossible to win in a building though.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Have to stay outside of them suckers.
You really just have to never go in a fucking room ever.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. I'm with Tanner on this point. The more I play Caldera, the less I like it than I used to. And it's because if you are outside of the next circle, you are going to spend all of your time getting into it. All of your time. And that's just ripe for getting third party or getting held. It's so much easier to hold people if you're in zone and the people you're trying to hold aren't, obviously, than ever before, because it takes so long with all the elevation to get into zone. I would like Caldera better than Verdansk if it were, again, less tall and less depressed. If Mines was brought up more, if Peak was brought down more, I would still prefer Caldera. I would much prefer Caldera over Verdansk. But as it stands now, I actually don't know anymore. And I don't know if this is just like terrible fucking circles lately, because they have been really dog shit. I mean, 70% of the circle is in the ocean. That happens more often than not, literally, to me in the last 3 days. I just can't believe it. On a map that already has not enough loot, if someone dies, there isn't $4,000 more by circle 2 anywhere on the map to buy someone back. when 90% of the map is fucking cut off by the very first circle. So if you wanted to buy someone back, good luck, hope for a jailbreak. I mean, it's that simple. So that plus just how fucking tall and how hard it is to get in the next circle makes me kind of like Verdansk more. Not because Verdansk was a good map, because I stand by this, it wasn't, but Caldera is really, really starting to piss me off too. It's too tall and too low. It's just real fucking frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, so to answer your question, I'd still rather play Caldera with all the good shit rather than Verdansk with none of it. With that said, well, don't get me wrong. The 300 health is really big, and 300 health is better on Caldera than it would be on Verdansk because you're fighting in buildings less often. And for us on the inferior input method, that's helpful. But I think the hardest question would be, well, would you rather play Verdansk with all the good changes? No, wait. Would you rather play Caldera with all the good changes or Verdansk with none of them? Then it's a toughie. So like literally just how Verdansk was in the last week or literally just how Caldera is now? What would you take? Because you prefer Verdansk, I think. So would you give up the ghost change? Would you give up the health change? Would you give up the mantle, the balloons, the parachuting?
No, I think I'd still just say Caldera. It's just, it's so cringe because everyone at the end of Verdansk was saying like, we need a new map, we need new changes and shit. And then we get a new map, and of course, like everyone hates it, and it's like, oh, take us back. But it's like, you were bitching about Verdansk at the end of it. It's like, shut up. So that's why, like, I don't necessarily think Caldera is just straight up worse or better. It's just a completely different map, and like I would still rather be playing on something new because it still feels like I get on and play Caldera and it feels like a newer game than if I were still just playing on Verdansk right now. Like it'd be less interesting. It's still like, you know, the map would be exactly the same, not as many, no map changes, and it would have just been even more old at this point. So
yeah. So anyway, let's move on. Good question, Ox. Well, no, it wasn't. We made it a good question, though.
He said he did mean to word it that way. He blamed his keyboard, which doesn't make any sense. It's his fault, not his keyboard's.
No, got it. But
it was the keyboard's fault.
In it. All right, next, Biggie Smalls. Have you guys tried your controllers on Caldera yet? No, not yet. We're waiting to get bored of Warzone again, and then we're going to plug them suckers in.
What order are you getting these questions in? Where are you reading these from?
The order it looks like on my screen.
Are you not looking at the document?
No, I'm just on the tweet.
Oh, okay. I already put them all in the document. That's why. Okay. That's what I'm looking at. I'm like, where are you getting these from?
Yeah.
No. Yeah, no. Yeah,
we haven't. We will, though, eventually. Once we get bored of Warzone, we'll plug those suckers in. And then another one from Biggie Smalls. This is a great question. I really like this. Which is more useful for less skilled players? Restock stims or high alert? On Caldera, I'm assuming.
Pretty sure we had this exact discussion on a Patreon episode, didn't we? I think we did. Because I think we talked about this for a brainstorm.
Maybe, yeah.
Kind of think what we gathered is, for a less skilled player, I do think restock stims are going to help you more because it's going to keep you alive. And my argument was, high alert's a fantastic perk, obviously, but I think the lower skilled you are, the less benefit you're going to end up having from high alert. Because by the time high alert's going off and you like recognize and realize like, oh, someone's looking at me from this angle, I need to look over here and then try to find that person, you're probably just already dead. Whereas like a very good player, as soon as the high alert pings, they start slide canceling, they turn around like, oh shit, someone's looking at me from this angle. They get in a better position to peek that angle and see where the player's at, if it's a sniper, whatever that may be. And I think it's hard for lower skill players to benefit from that. Whereas like restock stims, everyone can benefit a little bit more from just popping a stim and getting an increased movement speed and then getting heals, because it's keeping you alive longer than I think a lower skilled player would be able to stay alive just from their high alert going off and telling them someone was there.
100%. I totally agree. Yeah. Because like, First of all, as Reflex said, a lot of people are using cold-blooded anyway, so high alert just really isn't that good when that's the case, because it doesn't go off. And then let's take that out of the equation. If your high alert is pinging and you're like an average player, you're probably like in the middle of a field or something, and there's no cover around you. So you're getting looked at from behind to your right. You can't take cover from it. Your only option here is to turn as quickly as you can and start shooting now, because you're about to die. And if you're really good, you can do that and get a down that you would have otherwise not gotten. But if you're an average player, you're not cranking fucking 180s on people in Warzone. It's not happening. So all high alert is going to do for you in that situation is say, okay, let me drop my money because I'm dead. And then hopefully a teammate can get it or something. Like, it's not that it's useless if you're not, really good, but it's way less useful than just having stims always on you is. Because, like, if you stim in the middle of a gunfight, you can eat so many more bullets, especially if you're far away, dude. If you're at like an AR second damage range and you're in an AR gunfight, you will eat fucking 4 bullets that you couldn't have eaten otherwise with a stim. I'm literally not kidding. I wish I was streaming that one time. I talked about this. Late game at Capitol. I shot this guy so many times, dude. I couldn't believe it. And it was right after the health change. And I saw the stim icon and I was like, fuck, dude, that's crazy. I got so many flesh markers. It was like I was shooting like a fucking Krampus. Just flesh marker, flesh marker, God. Flesh marker, flesh marker. I couldn't believe it. So yeah, stims is going to be better for you if you're lower skilled, I think. And even if you are really good, I think with how prevalent cold-blooded is, I don't think high alert's worth running. So
yeah, that's funny. I saw this TikTok yesterday, and it was like, does anyone know how I didn't kill this guy? Like, how was he not dead? And it's him shooting some guy moving right to left, and he's like mounted up with an auto, and he probably hit the guy like 15 times. And it's like, and all of the comments are like, it's because he stimmed, bro. And he's like, yeah, but there's no stim icon. And it's like, yeah, it's because he's using the auto. At that range, that thing actually has like a 1,000 millisecond time to kill, like 1,050. It's like, that's what these kids just don't realize. It's such a dog shit gun at range. It's horrible. Yeah. And I just thought that was funny. It's like, it's literally the gun. And just, of course, none of the TikTok comments could figure that out. They're like, I think it was stims because he was stimming. No, you're just using a horrible gun.
Yeah, don't use the automaton. It's the new Kilo, really. If you're using an automaton, I know you're just dog shit. Yeah.
It's insane, dude. Because so many of these like wager kids and Warzone pros use it. And I'm just mind blown. I'm like, what are you fucking doing? If you have a 7 KD and you're playing this game competitively, pretty sure you can control an amount of recoil, right? Do you want to kill people in twice the amount of time? Like, what are you doing, man? Why are you using these guns?
I don't see Warzone pros using it. I've watched like Symphony and Huskers. They never use that. I haven't seen anyone.
Watch any of the wagers, all the clips you see, so many of them use the auto. Yes. Lag even said something one time. He was like, maybe they kind of like GA non-Vanguard guns, because in a lot of these like tournaments and kill races, all you see are people using Vanguard guns.
Maybe that would explain it for sure.
I mean, yeah, but it just goes to show you, I mean, no one knows how to set up their guns, even the fucking pro players, because there's too many at this point.
Yep, for sure. So anyway, yeah, restock stims for sure. Next, Biggie Smalls again. What change do you think they could make to Vanguard snipers to make them worth using? Scopes, aim down sight, change how shitty they sound? It's a kind of a tough question. It's a good one though. What are your thoughts, Tanner?
Yeah,
how would you make a Vanguard sniper viable?
I really don't even know. I don't understand the main thing that is making them from being viable, because they one shot down. It seriously does come down to they just feel wrong. I don't know. Something doesn't feel right with them. The sniper scopes feel off with them. It's like you can set them up to have like zero sway, like you talked about. Literally, and it's none. Just they don't feel good. I don't know, man. I cannot figure it out. And I swear to God, I really think a lot of it is how shitty they sound and look. I think that takes into effect more than what people imagine. Just like, dude, one of them, I think it's the 3-line, sounds so dumb. I'm like, Raz was using it one time and I was like, what the fuck is that? He's like, oh, it's a 3-line. I'm like, that is the worst sounding, most little tiny BB gun sounding gun I've ever heard in my life. You know, it's like when you hear someone shoot a Swiss, it's like a very distinct sound. Same thing with the car. And I think that plays into it. They're just boring. I don't know. Like they can still one shot down. I think one of the other things too, maybe mobility. They don't have like the same like ADS movement speed or something. As like a Swiss or a car. I don't know, man. Because again, they can all one shot down. I don't really understand it. They don't weird. Feel right though.
Yeah. So I'm comparing a Swiss to a 3-line, and I think I built the 3-line correctly. And my guess is that it's because Vanguard snipers have way more bullet drop than Cold War shit. But let's find out. No, that's not it. 3-line has less drop. Yeah, then I don't know. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just, it could be like, I know I talked about a while ago how like the optics like aren't fucking lined up correctly or something. Maybe that's what's happening. People just don't want to try it, maybe. I don't know what it is. I think honestly, if you used one a lot, you could make it work. But they do have a lot of flinch, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if they have more than like a Swiss does, but they might. And the optics are not great, usually. Like the Type 99 default optic, unusable. Car 98 one is okay. I think a lot of them just don't zoom enough as well, which is especially a big deal on Caldera, obviously, because you can snipe kids from far. Dude, I was playing with an HDR with the variable zoom 12x scope yesterday, and I got a 620 meter down, dude, with that thing, that HDR thing. It has very little bullet drop.
That thing was ADSing a lot faster than I remember it ADSing, too. It was looking pretty tasty. It's
slow compared to like an M-dub car, but it's not that slow, you know?
Yeah, I have another thought about snipers not being used either, is it's easy to load into Caldera Clash or load up Shipment 24/7 on Vanguard and just grind out an MP40 or something. It is very difficult, well, not difficult, it is more difficult to level up a sniper in Vanguard multiplayer because every kid is running around with a riot shield and shotgun, and that keeps people from leveling it up. Me included. I do not have a single Vanguard sniper maxed out because you just can't use them in multiplayer, which is great for their multiplayer aspect. It's not like Cold War where that's all you see. You're just getting quick scoped by everyone, just one tapped across the map constantly. They're just so bad that you never see anyone play with them, and they feel slower to level up since it's a one-shot gun, so you can't go into just like Rebirth or something or Clash and just try to kill a bunch of people. It's like, yeah, you can do like the supply run strats and whatnot, but I just don't see people taking their time to do that for Vanguard snipers when the car and the Swiss are as good as they are.
That's a great point. I think you're onto something.
Because it's like the Car 98 in M-dub is like still like one of the most popular guns in M-dub multiplayer. People use that in like search and stuff. They set it up to like ADS really fast, a quick scoping gun. And that definitely plays into it, I believe.
Yeah. I've used some Vanguard snipers a bit. And like I was using the 3-line with the 30-aught Thang rounds, 20-round mag. And again, you can build every single Vanguard sniper to have literally no sway. I'm not being hyperbolic. Literally none. You don't have to hold your breath. It literally doesn't move. It's kind of broken, actually. And it has a lot of flinch, but it literally doesn't move. And that was one of the reasons the M-dub car was so good, because you could build it to have almost no sway. Every Vanguard sniper has less. It has 0, none. With zoom in 40x, it has no sway. It's broken. So it's like, I actually don't think they're that bad. The reason I think no one uses them is because, like Tanner said, they take a lot of time to level up, more time than anything else, and you have to play Vanguard to do it. And good luck sniping someone with your Type 99 when there's some kid with a riot shield on his back slide canceling into you with a Kimbo double barrel fire round buck and slug shotguns on shipment.
Yep.
Good luck.
Exactly.
Have fun leveling that. So no one wants to level it, including streamers. Streamers don't use it, therefore no one else uses it. I promise you this, okay? If Swag made a YouTube video saying the 3-line rifle is overpowered in Warzone, and the thumbnail was Swag like this, right? And he shows his 3-line setup at the end, the only sniper you would see in Warzone for a week would be the 3-line. And then people would start using it based on their preference. I literally think it's actually that simple. It doesn't seem to me like there's anything actually wrong with them. They're just not popular because streamers aren't using them. And if they start, then you'll start to see them. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. But they also ADS slower than the Swiss, and a lot of people don't like that. But it's not much slower. I don't know. I think you could make them work, though.
I don't know, though. Yeah, when you've been using something that ADS is as quick as like a Car 98 or a Swiss, it's hard to go to anything that's even 30 milliseconds slower. That is part of it, too. You also, it's like, so you can do these things like you're saying with zero sway, but I feel like you just can't set it up to feel like a car or a Swiss. Like you can't have all of those same things. You can't have good mobility, fast ADS, quick reload, not a ton of sway. Like you can't do all of those things. You can just do like half of those things that are something like zero sway and decent mobility, for example, but like then you have trash ADS speed or something. It's like you can't get all of it with that. So
yeah,
I'm excited to see what they do with season 3, because I think they will honestly buff a lot of those, which we talked about. They also
do need to make them sound better. That is a factor. You probably don't think that's the reason you don't use a certain gun, but it is. Like a subconscious reason.
Sounds have a lot of it's like mute your game and play for 2 minutes, see how less exciting it is. It's like it feels like you're like not connected or something. Sounds have a big part in how weapons feel.
And if you disagree, use a Vanguard car. It sounds like a Red Rider. What's the BB gun called?
Red Rider, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a Red Rider.
Is a Tarkov item, yeah.
That's correct, yeah, which I have.
Which you don't have.
I do, I did buy it, yeah.
Was the last thing you bought?
Never used it. It might be, actually. But yeah, anyway. It kind of makes me want to try a Vanguard Sniper again, though, because it is really nice having no sway, especially on Caldera. But anyway. Okay, another question from Biggie Thmalv. What can a shit player do to stop getting surprised and killed on Caldera? When you find out, let us know. I lose so many gunfights just because I get surprised.
Yeah, I don't think there is much you can do. I think about the only thing you can do is try to prioritize popping UAVs. That's something I always wonder if we shouldn't be doing that. I always think like, because the meta now is to get your free loadout, and then buy a loadout right away, or like, you buy your loadout and then go get your other one. But it's like with that money, a lot of times you could buy essentially 2 UAVs, but then you get the second loadout so much later that you would just like never have your perks. You're kind of forced to do that. So hold on.
And there also isn't really enough money to buy fucking UAVs. And like lately when we've been playing quads, we've been just holding money because we're not going to find any more ever for the rest of the game. So if someone dies, it's nice to just have the money on us instead of having to try looting for the rest of the game and then buy them back final circle. So I don't think the UAV strat would really work, especially if you're shit. Because like it's hard for us to have money for a UAV after we buy loadout on this map. Let alone an average squad, average players. I don't think it's worth it. And even if you can buy a UAV, okay, well, you got one, but like, what about the rest of the game? How do you not get surprised? I think the biggest tip I have is be in zone even sooner than you're currently trying to be. Because when we get third-partied or surprised, It's usually because we are running into zone and someone's holding us and we just didn't know they were there. And if you're already in zone or you get in super early, you're less likely to be surprised, because another thing, if you don't have to move, then you're not going to be surprised because you won't be moving if you don't want. So like if you just get into zone super early and then hang out in an area, then people will come to you and you can be the holder and then you won't be surprised usually. So I would say if you're average, my biggest tip to not get surprised is always be close to cover. Stay out of running in the open as often as you possibly can so that if you do get surprised, you can prone behind a box or something or a rock. But also just rotate early and be in zone. Because if you have gas at your back and then gamers who surprise you in zone and you have to cross, you're dead. If you're average, you're never winning that. You will never not get held as an average player by gas. It will just never not happen. So you have to get in early, because as soon as an average team gets held, they will die 1,000% of the time. It is very difficult, even if you have a massive skill gap on the team holding you, to not be held on Caldera. There's not enough cover. It takes too long to get into that circle because you have to go up the mountain, rappel up the thing, draw a pentagram, borp a spin, and then like stim in twice to get into the zone. So, I mean, if you're average and you're held, just quit, honestly. You will not win. You'll all die easily 1,000% of the time. So get in sooner. That's my biggest tip. Yeah.
Yeah, or just, if you're having trouble getting caught off guard a lot and that's an issue, actually just start landing right in the middle of the circle at the closest POI and just playing slow there. Then you don't have to worry about moving as much. I mean, it's not always the most fun thing. We had a game like that yesterday when we were streaming at Arsenal. We landed Arsenal. We stayed in that one building the entire game. Oh, it was horrendous. One of the most boring games I've ever played.
I had the most kills on the team because Jake, Tanner, and who was it? Coper Lag are worse players than me. So I had the most kills using that HDR.
You had like one more kill than everyone because you had an HDR.
I had 12. You had like 8. Or you had,
I don't think you 7. Did not have double. You haven't had double-digit kills
12.
in Warzone in months.
Okay, I'll pull it up. But anyway, go on.
Anyways, it's like we wasted the entire game sitting on that roof. So boring, no fun. I had fucking 5,000 damage and 4 kills because I was just getting downs on people with my sniper and never being able to finish them. And then we ended up getting second place. I'm like, what was the point of us doing that? That was so boring. Even if we won, I would have been like, that was horrible and boring, and I hate it.
You were using a Swiss, right?
But if you want to like not get caught off guard and be held like that, you just have to like land in the middle of the zone. I think another thing that we don't do enough anymore is get in vehicles. Like, we don't drive in cars anymore. Have you noticed that? Like in Verdansk all the time. Yeah, but it's like that's just what we've become accustomed to thinking, but you can still maneuver around and not get held as easy. I think we need to prioritize getting in vehicles more like we did on Verdansk. Because yes, absolutely, they're a lot worse to drive around than on Verdansk, but it's still better than running into gas when someone has a UAV popped and they're just holding us when there's one tree for all of us to hide behind,
Yeah.
So I think that would help the issue too, but land more in the zone, or if not, then rotate absolutely as early as possible.
Yeah.
That's what it was. He had the least amount of damage, but double the kills as me. More than double. Yeah.
I had a little less damage than you, yeah, but
What an embarrassing headshot percentage.
I finished kills. It's because I had a variable zoom, so I was just taking shots at kids 600 meters away, dude.
Got it.
Anyway, get kill checked. But regardless, yeah. Yeah, it depends on your playstyle. I mean, sure. If you're an average player, though, your games aren't going to be exciting anyway. Because if you're trying to get in gunfights as often as Tanner wants to, and you're average, your team's just going to get shit on in gunfight number 2. And you're going to have even less fun than not doing anything at Arsenal. So, I think you should temper your expectations to your skill level. And like Tanner said, I still think just land fucking middle of the first circle at a POI and you won't have to move for a while. And like, yeah, people might not come to you for a while It might be kind of slow, but people will eventually come to you, and when they do, you're going to have such a big advantage, you'll probably kill them. And that will be more fun than you chasing kills outside of zone, maybe winning a gunfight or two on a team, and then 100% losing when you have to get inside and you get held. So, I think that's a good strat. The less you move, the less often you'll be surprised. Which is kind of the opposite of Verdansk, because a lot of the times in Verdansk, you could be on a building, everyone had dead silence, they spawned with it, always. 2 of them, in fact. So, like, if you were in a building, you would often be surprised. And you get surprised more on Verdansk by not moving than by moving. I think on Caldera, because of so many buildings and shit, someone can run to you, and you won't see them, because there's so much shit in the way, they could just be out of your line of sight for so long. On Caldera, there are no buildings. So, like, if someone's running up to you, you'll see them coming from literally 300 meters away, like, very often. So, it's the opposite. So, if you don't move, you won't be surprised very often. So, that would be my recommendation. Yeah.
Yeah, what else? I was going to say something else in regards to that. Never mind. Just about the dead silence thing real quick. If you guys have been seeing a bunch of deadies, let us know, because we had a game yesterday where we found 3 or 4, and I hadn't seen a deadie in like a week prior to that, and then we found numerous in one game. So I don't know if we got some weird bugged game or if they're back in full force. So you guys have been playing a lot. Let us know if you've been seeing them, because that's not a great sign.
Yeah, I think it was only that one game. I haven't seen many since then or before.
It's actually like it was fucking bugged.
Like
that was so weird to have numerous in one lobby. Yeah,
that was weird. I don't know. But anyway, we also landed factory that game. I feel like they would be more likely to spawn at factory because there's fucking 12 orange crates there.
True, yeah.
Could have been part of it.
There do be a lot of loot there.
Yeah. All right, now some questions from Twitch chat. So if you guys are here right now and you want to ask a Warzone question in chat, you can do that. We've had some in the queue, so we're going to get to these. Hood Dog asked, was Caldera map in World War II setting too much of a commitment for Activision, with the knowledge that a massive theme and map change like that would not go well with many players? Which clearly it did not. Interesting. What do you think, bud?
I don't know. I mean, I think they were on the right path. Everyone wanted something different than Verdansk. I feel like if we just got another urban type map, then people also would have complained that it was then too similar to Verdansk. So it's like, at the end of the day, Verdansk was the OG. That's what everyone played through COVID with. That's what everyone built their memories on. So Warzone will never be that again, ever. So even when it comes to Warzone 2, we're probably going to get a more urban themed, like desert maps, or the leaks right now. People are going to also complain about that because it's not OG Verdansk. It's just one of those things. I do think the World War II setting was a mistake. It's like, I don't really mind it because the guns don't feel like I don't ever play Caldera and think once, oh, this is World War II. Not once ever. That does not happen. Yep. Maybe in Vanguard Royale, well, that doesn't exist anymore. So I just still use Cold War guns because they're better, or Cold War ARs at least. And so it doesn't feel like a World War II setting, but in terms of Vanguard multiplayer, the game being made around World War II, that was, I mean, undoubtedly a mistake for Activision, and it shows with how just the sales went. Just set aside how many people are playing the game right now, the sales were a lot lower than like previous Call of Duty games in general, or people not even knowing what it was, or didn't even know a new Call of Duty came out because they didn't have a Black Ops title or Modern Warfare title or something. So that was for sure a mistake, but I think they did overall a good job at mixing things up when it comes to Caldera. You know, there are things that are better with it too. It's a nice, bright, vibrant map. At least we got some color in this one. I'm not blinded by a sun, but it just feels so much different than Verdansk, which I think was a solid change of pace. Like, it was just the complete opposite of what we used to have.
Yeah.
But yeah, the World War II setting and Warzone itself couldn't matter less. doesn't affect anything.
That's literally what I was going to say. The problems that people have with Warzone right now, with Caldera, with all of the changes relating to Warzone, literally none of them are because it's a World War II theme. If the theme of this game was, and I think that's true for even multiplayer also, if Vanguard was the same game with a modern skin, it would have sold more, but it wouldn't have been a better game.
People would have thought it was better, though.
True. Yeah, true. Sadly.
Just for no reason. Yeah.
Yes. But especially with respect to Warzone, none of the things people have issue with are because it's World War II themed. That's not the issue. And if all, the same thing I just said. Like, if all the Vanguard guns had a modern skin in Warzone, the Vanguard ARs would still be dog shit. And still no one would use them except the Automaton or whatever it would be called. The Automaton 2022 222. And it would still be trash, but people might use it just like they do now. But like, it wouldn't actually change anything. The problems have nothing to do with the setting, and which is a good thing, because we were worried, Tanner especially, about a World War II game, because we wouldn't have optics, we wouldn't have 75 round drum mags on an M1 Garand. But then we realized, luckily, the devs they don't care. I mean, they're gonna put magnification scopes on guns that literally didn't exist. They'll put magazines on guns that
drum mag on an M1 Garand
don't exist. Yeah,
literally not possible. Yeah.
So it isn't the World War II theme that's held the game back. It's been just the game itself and the mechanics themselves.
Exactly. Yeah. I wonder how much Infinity Ward was molding when they saw these guns that Sledgehammer was developing for this World War II title with, again, M1 Garand drum magazine coming out of the bottom of the rifle. Because they put all of this time into like real world like gun testing and shit to try to get them all actually like realistic looking.
Like YouTube video where they're like in fucking Ramadi interviewing like Korean War vets. I think they had some shit like that.
Probably,
and they do all this research and then just piss all over it anyway. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
But that was just, this stuff's just dumb, but it's obvious it's what they had to do to make it still feel modern. And it does. It's like I don't ever play Vanguard and think, oh, this is a World War II game. And if that's what you think, then I mean there's something wrong with you, because you should never think it's a World War II game ever when you're using a fucking auto with a 75 round drum mag. It just doesn't feel like it. Yeah. But in terms of like their sales and popularity, it definitely destroyed it. Yeah. If the game was called Call of Duty Modern Warfare Vanguard, it would be 4 times as popular. I swear to God, they could change nothing with the game except for that name, and it would be that much more popular.
Yep, literally, that's all they would have to change. Yeah, for sure. What else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, there's a funny video on YouTube I saw. This guy who's like a gun expert. It's like reviewing Call of Duty Vanguard guns, like compared to their real life counterparts, and he's like in the gunsmith looking at it, and he's like, okay, this doesn't exist in real life. They've never made a gun like this. This has never existed in real life. This is literally physically impossible to exist in real life. It's pretty funny. But I'm glad they did that, because I'd prefer the customization and the utility of a magnification optic over realism any day. But yeah, that's that.
Yeah.
So. Next question, very interesting, from Reflex. Do you think the slide cancel is underrated in the sense that a lot of people just use it to move around the map faster, when it is the most broken way to challenge someone and camera the fuck out of them? And for those of you listening who don't know what cameraing someone means, it's where I slide into and past you, and I break your aim assist, and I'm very often not even on your screen anymore. Break your camera. You don't see me anymore. This is what cameraing is. So
it's easy to do against console players, not PC players, really.
It's easy to do against controller. Yeah. Especially console. True. Good point. Yeah.
Probably, yeah, because even me, like, I primarily use it to move around. Once I get in a gunfight, I'm not necessarily thinking about doing that as much. I feel like that's something people that play mostly Rebirth are more used to doing. Is that fast movement back and forth to to break that aim assist
twice. Remember on that Rebirth gameplay breakdown?
It's rude. Yeah, it's very rude. Yeah.
Stims, camera's the guy, shoots him, laughs, giggles. He giggles at him, right?
It's a little cute little
and
giggle.
And then he literally just stops shooting, waits for the guy to turn around, cameras him again, and then kills him. It was so funny.
Rude. It's adorable. Yeah, Raiden's the worst.
Real piece of shit. Yeah.
But I think with the latest stim buff, with the movement increase, that definitely has me in the habit more of trying to slide cancel right after I pop a stim in a gunfight, essentially, and try to slide past them or slide a different direction. So, but I would say, yeah, it's probably, I guess it's not underrated. It's underused, though, but it's harder to do when you get into a gunfight because you're ADS at someone, say, 12 meters away. It's hard to just think about turning to the left as that person's shooting at you and trying to like slide cancel your way out of it. It doesn't always work. That's the other issue, is a lot of times their aim assist will just stick to you and you won't be able to get past them, and then you'll just be dead, So it's kind of hard to make that play at all times. And that's why I think, all in all, it's better just for moving around the map quicker.
Yeah, on Warzone especially, and that's why Tanner made the observation, I think, that it's more common on Rebirth, is because you have to be really close to camera someone. You have to be really close to them. And on Caldera, most gunfights, you are not close enough to camera someone. Because you have to slide like right through them or right past them. And you're not really going to get that close to someone on Caldera very often. So I don't know if it's underrated. And I will also add, Tanner and I don't do this that often. And honestly, I think it's because we're on keyboard and mouse, and the absolute last thing I want to do is get close enough to someone else to have an opportunity to camera them. I don't want to be that close to you because I'm probably going to die.
Yeah, I'd rather stay away and try to kill you.
I'd rather stay away and use my advantage of being on keyboard and mouse and maximize that by being farther away, where I have the advantage, because the closer I get, the less of an advantage I have to someone who's on controller. And since most people are on controller, I assume every one of my opponents is on controller. Exactly. And therefore I don't try to be close enough. I actively try to not be close enough to camera people. And I think most people on keyboard and mouse play that way. One exception I can think of, even prior to the stim change, but especially when the stim change happened, is Pieman. Pieman plays Warzone solos all the fucking time, and he loves to camera people. But again, that's in solos. And you're going to get in more 1v1s in solos than you are in fucking quads. Like, that's another thing about cameraing in quads. Many of you don't have friends, but you like random fill quads or whatever. And like getting close enough to one of those people to camera him in quads, real dangerous. Because he might have his friends with him. And it's like, yeah, you might camera this guy, but his two friends are fucking ripping you while you do it, and you're just dead. So you want to stay far away anyway. So I don't know. I don't think it's underrated. I think it's a skill you should absolutely have. And there will be times, even in Caldera quads, where you can and should camera someone. But it is a bit challenging to do. You don't need to stim to do it, but it definitely helps. And
yeah, it helps a lot.
And I don't think, I guess my point is that you shouldn't go out of your way to try to camera someone. If you're in a situation where it's a good thing to do it. But don't try and put yourself in that situation on Caldera anyway, in my opinion. I don't think it's worth the risk. So
yeah.
But it's a really good skill to have in your tool set.
You could do it quite a bit in the gulag too. I did that a couple times yesterday.
You can do it in the gulag. True.
It's like someone's holding like that right angle and I just slide right past them. And the guy was like still looking forward, and he he was on controller, so it's just completely broken. And then he tried to turn to the right, and at that point I was almost directly behind him, and I just shoot him in the back, and then I hear him, yelling through his TV speakers. So
yeah,
that's how.
And by the way, I'll also add, even if your opponent is on keyboard and mouse, cameraing them is still really good. Maybe even better, because when I get cameraed, I'm not sure where that guy went. I know he's behind me somewhere, but do I turn 90 degrees or do I turn like 170? I have no idea. And I'm not the gaming definition. So I'll crank a 180 as fast as I can, and I'm never going to be on the guy. So then I'm going to have to correct again, and it's going to take me quite a while. And I actually don't have aim assist, so I'm going to have to be pixel perfect to start getting shots on. So cameraing anyone's really good. It's really good against controller players, and it's also really good against keyboard and mouse players. Unless you try to camera TGD or Raiden, but then you were fucked anyway. There was no strategy you could do anyway to win that gunfight. So the camera not working on them isn't a surprise. Nothing was going to work anyway, so it doesn't matter. But cameraing is always good if you can do it. Yeah, for sure.
True.
So just keep that in mind. Great question, though. All right, next. It's a cute question. It's fucking quaint that this had to even be asked.
It's adorable, Ox, yeah.
And I'm going to have to answer this one first. Would a team of Jake Down, Tanner, Raz, and Lag Show beat a team of the best 4 devs on any dev studio involved in COD in a Warzone tournament? Secondly, would you take dynamic weather in Warzone? Okay, so not only would that team beat any 4 devs ever, Jake playing solo quads would beat a team of the best 4 devs in any Call of Duty dev team ever. And I'm literally not joking. I think that's true. I'm literally not joking. I've seen Jake in Jake Down SBMM lobbies 1v4 entire teams with skill-based matchmaking. You think he couldn't do that to some devs who maybe play once a week? This is the best 4 devs, so let's assume they all play for 2 hours a week. Jake would have a field day with them by himself, let alone all 4 of us. This is an absurd thing to ask. Of course we would. You would camera
all of them, yeah.
Of course we would. What a disgusting question.
I mean, I'm the only
curious what the best devs overall Warzone KD is.
I was about to say that. I don't know if a single dev out of the thousands of devs that work on Warzone across all studios, I don't know if one of them has above like a 3 KD. I'm sure there's none that are just demonic. I don't think they exist at all.
I think literally 0 above a 3. I don't believe anyone has a 3.
I'm sure there's like a handful above the 2, but I would venture to say the average Warzone developer has under a 1 KD for sure, yeah.
Literally,
I mean, I've seen
literally a 0.9 average.
I've seen clips of a lot of them playing. They'll post things. It's just like, it even blows my mind. It's like, you're a developer for Warzone and you're playing Warzone on a console. I'm just like, why? Don't you probably own a good computer? It's just explosions. I don't understand it. It's like you of all people would think you would own a nice gaming PC and would play on PC. It's crazy. But yeah, I don't think good game developers exist that are, or for Warzone at least, that are good at their video game. No.
Yeah. They don't exist. What an absurd question. And fuck me for asking it. Yeah.
Yeah, what else? Oh, I'm probably the only person here who has ever actually played against a dev. I played against 2 Treyarch devs in Cold War, and I shot his body.
One of my
I shot his body and teabagged him. He wasn't bad. He was probably like a 1.5 or something. He was pretty good, but I of course shot his body. I told him to nerf snipers, and he didn't respond to me in chat, so I shot his body and I teabagged him every time I killed him.
Yeah, you fucking.
It was I think it was Fox. Was it Matt KS or Foxhound FPS?
Matt KS sounds so familiar. There's no other reason why it would.
Let me look up Matt's Twitter.
I think there were 2 of them, weren't there?
Associate Director of Design, Treyarch. I believe so.
And they had like the special clan tag, right? That's how you knew. Which actually wasn't bugged.
Okay, so
Cold
Foxhound is the community manager. He's not a dev. Whereas Matt KS, it was Matt because that's what it was. This is the director of design at Treyarch. That's who it was. So it was like one of like the lead developer that oversees multiplayer. That's whose body I shot and teabagged. Yeah, numerous times.
That's the best dev to encounter and farm too. Was he sniping?
Yeah. No, I don't remember what he was using, but I told him to nerf snipers.
Yeah, God, I wish I was there.
Didn't respond.
I love that story so goddamn much. But yeah, that's a true story. So anyway, we would do that. We would abuse them. We would grief them. We would laugh track them at the end of the game. So in the lobby ending screen, you know how it's you get first place because we would of course win. We would VoIP them and grief the fuck out of them and say, you guys are dog shit. This is what you get for never playing your game. We would give them some tips on how to improve their game. Over this entire time, we would be shooting bodies, obviously.
Yeah. We are looking to be a COD partner, by the way, if you guys are interested.
We are open to being COD partners. Yes, that is, of course, true.
We'll delete a lot of episodes.
Hey, write us a big enough check. We'll change our tune real quick, dude. Sure, you can have Ted on for an interview. I'll ask him the softest of softball questions.
Talk about Field of View for an hour.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. He'll tell us it's a technical issue and we all want that, and I will gregariously laugh along with him and say, yeah, man, I totally get it.
Yeah, we get it.
And then move on to another easy question that he can just knock out of the park. What's your favorite part about being a developer for the most successful battle royale of all time? That's the kind of questions I would ask you if you write us a big enough check to be a COD partner. So keep that in mind, Activision.
Yeah,
in the meantime, fuck you guys, dog shit development team. Dog shit publisher too. You should all be fired. Anyways, let's move on.
Two horrible questions here, Oxford.
Oh yeah. Secondly, would you take dynamic weather in Warzone? Of course not.
That's the worst part about Battlefield. Battlefield will be fun until all of a sudden there's a fucking hurricane and I can't see anything. No one wants that. Well, the fucking Battlefield LARPers do, but of course that doesn't belong in Warzone. No. I would rather have lootable giraffes. Give me lootable animals I can kill than give me fucking weather. No.
Yeah.
Same thing in Tarkov. When it starts raining in Tarkov, see ya. See you when the rain's over. I'll play in a day or two. Because it ruins everything. Rain would be horrible in Warzone. No, absolutely not.
Yep. Hey, keep the tsunamis and the monsoons to the fucking campaign.
Yeah.
Because if I want immersion, I'm playing single player. If I'm playing multiplayer, I want to be able to clearly see everyone always.
Yeah.
Duh. Dynamic weather literally adds nothing to the game. Of course we don't want it. Why would you ask that?
Yeah, even like being cloudy, it's like,
Fuck you,
I don't want that. Just keep it sunny the whole time. Sunny, but don't blind me like it did in Verdansk.
Oxford. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You're a real piece of shit.
Real piece of shit for asking both of those questions. Yeah. So fuck you and you're British, plus you're British, plus governor. And let's move on.
Oi, mate.
Sleek, easy.
Nando's, bruv. Cheeky Nando's, oi, bruv.
What is Nando's? What is that?
It's like their chicken place, isn't it?
Oh, is it? Is there a place called Nando's?
Yeah, that's like the spot.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we all know the British are known for their excellent cuisine. Am I right?
Yeah.
Fucking colonial pigs. Colonial white pigs. Oppressor Protestant dog pigs. Let's move on. Sleek, easy. The British are fine. Relax. Do you guys think Warzone 2 will and or should have multiple rebirth maps? So like small rebirth type maps.
I believe so. I think with...
You think it will or you think it should? Or both?
I don't think it will, no, but I think it should. They've kind of... It's been obvious this year since Caldera released how popular Warzone or Rebirth is or can be. And I think it would be smart. Yeah. And I think it would be smart to build on that and make another map. Not sure if I can see them doing it, though, to be honest. At least on launch, I don't think we'll have... We probably won't have Rebirth on launch, honestly, and the Rebirth kids will be maulding. Yeah, we'll get Warzone 2 launch. It'll be one main desert/urban map. And, we'll get, like, Rebirth or something a few months later.
You're right.
And we'll never get a second one.
think you're right, dude. It's going to be desert. Which
That's what
good.
the leaks have said. Desert, but then also, the game is supposed to be like drug cartels shit.
There's a lot of
South
desert
American
in
drug
Mexico.
cartel is. Well, this was supposed to be like based in like Colombia, I thought. Brazil.
Not any
I'm not
desert
sure how
there.
many deserts are there. I mean, people also think California is all beaches and don't realize we have just a shitload of desert area. So maybe there is a bunch of desert down there. I don't know.
I don't know about Brazil. Brazil is a big ass country, but it's also home to the largest rainforest on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone know what that? For bonus points, what's the rainforest called?
The Amazon rainforest.
The Amazon
Rainforest Cafe.
It's not the Rainforest Cafe.
Shout out to the Rainforest. I was last week to the Rainforest Cafe.
It's been a while.
Awful place.
Sure. I don't even remember.
Are there deserts in
there.
South America?
There's definitely deserts somewhere, but I don't know about Brazil.
Chile, Bolivia. Bolivia would be a big one. I think there's a lot of desert there.
Really?
A lot of desert in Bolivia. Yeah.
I don't know much about South America.
That's where
Sur America.
Tom Clancy, that's where Ghost Recon Wildlands is based, Bolivia, and a lot of it is vast desert.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Anyway, I hope I get bitten by a black mamba in the Amazon rainforest in MW 2. That would be fun. Anyway.
Yeah, well, I mean, animals
edit
are
that
coming. Animals are coming to
animals
Warzone.
are
So.
coming to Warzone. And they're lootable, yeah, you can find they swallowed a magazine of 5.56 ammo, so we can loot that too. Mix it with it.
True.
Okay. Do I think it should have multiple rebirth maps? Yes. It's more content, so yeah, that would be cool. I think if they were going to have multiple rebirth maps, they wouldn't be separate queues, though. It would be like PUBG, where you queue for the game, and it puts you on whatever fucking map
Absolutely.
it wants.
Yeah.
Which I think would be the way to handle it. You don't want to split up your player base too much, so I think that would be cool. Provided the two... There won't be more than two, by the way. Provided the two maps, at maximum, are both decent. Or at least one of them isn't much worse than the other. Then that would be cool. I would like that. Will it have multiple rebirth maps? Maybe. If so, it's not for at least 2 years from now. Because like Tanner said, when Warzone 2 comes out, there will be no rebirth type mode. If there is, it's rebirth that we have now on Warzone, which won't be the case probably. So we're going to have just the big BR map. And then a couple months later, rebirth will come out. And then maybe 6 months after that, 3 months after that at the absolute earliest, the next season, we would get a second rebirth map. I don't know, though. I find it a little less likely. I wouldn't be terribly surprised if they had more than one rebirth map, but my confidence in that being the case is like 20%, 25%. I wouldn't be surprised, but I find it unlikely, to be honest. But I think it would be good. Yeah, I think it would be cool. Because like if you really like Rebirth, people who really like Rebirth, they might like the map, but the reason they like Rebirth isn't the map.
Exactly.
The reason they like Rebirth is the population density, the game mode,
the buildings,
and all of that. It's not the map itself that's the biggest attraction.
Yeah, it is like a good map, but if with Warzone 2 they essentially took part of the main BR map and maybe slightly changed it or just straight copy pasted it into its own smaller little map, and that was Rebirth. If it had buildings in it, Rebirth kids would love it, I'm sure, you know. It's like Rebirth Island is solid all around. I think it's a well-developed, well-designed map for what it is. Really
good for what it is, exactly.
Yeah, but it's like, yeah, they like it because of the game. I mean, that's what everyone thinks. People don't know. People think Rebirth and they think Resurgence. You know, we talked about that. They don't know Resurgence is a game mode. That's just part of it. Rebirth is the map. So.
Yeah, exactly. So, great question. Do we have more from Twitch chat here? Let's take a little peek. Take a peek.
True or false, Resurgence is just glorified TDM until the last few circles. 100%. Yeah, that's why people play it. They want They want fast-paced gunfights. They want easy TikTok clips. They have ADD. They're 16. They don't want to run for more than a minute without running into 8 people. So yeah, it is just TDM. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Which is why we don't find it as fun, because there's less stakes. It's like Ground War's fun too, but I don't give a shit if I win or not. I'm just trying to drop White Foss on someone.
When I win Rebirth, I don't even really care. It gets old fast. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, winning twice in a row on Caldera feels like winning 10 times in a row in Rebirth would feel.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So, yeah. All right. Well, what do you think, Tanner? What's the next step? Let's ask this.
Here we go.
Tanner.
Drexler just asked a good one.
Okay, got it. What did he ask?
Drexler asks, when regaining late game, how do you decide where to drop?
I fucking rub my magic 8-ball and just roll the dice and hope wherever I drop has money, because it won't.
Yeah. That you touched on that earlier, but I forgot to say when we were on that topic. You said the same exact thing yesterday during the gameplay stream, and I was just like, holy shit, yeah, I've never thought of it this way. You're like, this is why there's no loot anywhere. Look at the zone. The first circle was just to the right of peak, and then, you know, down towards the edge. So, like, Capital obviously was in because it was down on the southeast side of the map. So factory, anything on the west side of the map at all, even fucking airfield, was just out. So all of that loot at those POIs gone.
Yep.
No one will ever get any of that. So to regain, it's like, if you land factory or if you land Capital, sure, there's a bunch of buildings there, but since that's like the middle of the zone, 10 teams probably already landed there and looted it. So then what do? If you land there, sure, you may find one room unlooted. What's going to happen? Someone's going to see you coming in and landing, and they're going to just push you because they know you're one guy, and they're going to kill you, and you're going to be dead. So, like, regaining is really, really difficult. And Jake has had us lately doing constant contracts. So when we have to regain, you get way more money. Because we have a fat contract bonus going. Like, we'll just grab supply runs just to get that bonus up. Because every time you do another contract, it's like an extra 20%, 40%, 60%, something like that. And so it keeps stacking on top of each other the more you do. So it's like, we'll just grab a supply run. It's like, oh, cool. That was that game where we were sitting on the roof of Arsenal. We grabbed a supply run. It happened to be right there.
Yep.
And we left that the entire game. Once we had to pull out of that zone, Jake's like, all right, well, we aren't going to be able to buy back here. This buy is going to be worthless, so everyone just go get something.
Yep. Yeah. We used it for one res on me. Luckily. And then, because I had the most kills. And then we all just got self.
Yeah, we got self and we pulled out.
Free buys, yeah.
Yeah, you want to just keep doing contracts so that if you have to regain late game and you see one scav by chance, which doesn't ever happen, but maybe, you can jump on that scav, and if you have a good bonus going, if you complete that by yourself and you're playing trios or quads and you're the only one alive, you'll still get enough money to buy at least one person back, you know?
Exactly.
And it's the same thing. Like, you can even grab big game bounties and just hope it gets poached or something and get a shitload of money for that too. So that's, I think, the best thing is do as many contracts early game as you can to get that bonus going. That's been the latest thing we've been on, which has been working really well, actually.
Yeah. And even if you don't manage to do any contracts, if you're regaining, you have to land on a contract or you're never getting enough money. There just doesn't exist money anymore. Like in Verdansk, you know, even if it was a dog shit circle that cut off 50% of the map, the other 50% of the map has 10 times as much cash just on the ground than Caldera has ever had in all of the lobbies since it came out. So there was still plenty of money to just land some random spot and some buildings unlooted, because there's a billion buildings on Verdansk. But in Caldera, there is no money. There are no buildings. There is no loot. So the only thing you should do, whether or not you have a contract bonus, and I agree you should be doing that, but even if you haven't been, if you're regaining, land on any contract you can. Anything except the most wanted, you have to do. Otherwise, you're winning the game by yourself or trying to. Those are your only options because you're not going to loot enough money. It's just not going to happen. And you can't even kill another team and loot them and then buy your teammates back. That used to be possible too on Verdansk because people had money because there was loot. Now there's none. You kill someone, they will drop no money. Literally none. That's happened to me many times. Kill some guy, kill a team, get a combined $400. I'm literally not joking. That happens often because there's no money. They don't have money. They didn't find any either. So that doesn't work either. So you have to just land on a contract if you're regaining. And if you can't, you're going to have to win by yourself. It's that simple.
Yeah.
Any contract will do. A recon, a supply drop, a supply run, a bounty and hope it gets poached. A scav ideally, of course, but those will not exist. People want them for money because there is none. But yeah. And that's why we've been doing that contract bonus thing, which has helped, but you have to do a contract to regain. There's no other option.
Yeah, see, like that's the other thing is like if you're trying to regain in Verdansk and you land downtown, it's a horrible spot to be, but you can find $4,000 to buy a teammate back within a minute and a half. You try to land at a POI on the edge of Verdansk. There's like 2 POIs in the circle. There's 8 teams already shooting at you. So what do you have to do? You have to go land at 3 random houses up on top of a little hill. You loot those houses. They've already been looted. Oh, great. I found 1 stack of $200 that somebody left. Then what do? Then you have to just end up pushing into those POIs and you die anyways. Yep. So it's like seriously, like the only thing is to get a bunch of contracts done early, and then land on a contract.
And another thing too, which is another topic I think we talked about earlier in this episode, is what we're doing now, which we almost never used to do, is save money. We'll have 4K each sometimes. And we'll be like, oh, we should get a UAV. And I'll be like, don't. We have to save it to buy people back. Otherwise, we're just not getting them. And that's been working pretty well. And also, if you can do an early supply run and just save it for buying teammates back. That's another thing we've somewhat been doing. I think we could do a better job doing that more, honestly. But a lot of times it takes you to a buy that's going to be out at the next circle anyway, unfortunately. But doing a supply run and just sitting on that free buy, knowing it's there for a free buyback later, is really good because that never goes away unless it's in gas. That's another thing you can do as well. But I think saving money, having a supply run buy handy, and not just getting a self-res right when you do it, etc. These things can help. But it's tougher. No matter what your strategy is, it's just tougher to regain on Caldera. Significantly tougher. Yeah,
for sure.
So don't die.
Don't be scared to grab those supply drops because they always land, it seems, within like 150 meters, and you can get like 8K or something out of them, 2 streaks. I'm sure now you can get like portable buys and whatnot. So those are really good to get. It's like it's got bright green smoke wherever it drops. And if it's close enough to someone else, it'll tell them it's coming in. But if you're trying to regain and you have like no other options, you could even call it in if you think it's in a trash position and you have a ground loot gun that you found. You can bait it if you see a team running up to it. Just sit there for a second and see if you can down one of them as they try to grab it or something. It's better than just running around and looting, because then you're just going to waste a bunch of time and end up dying anyways when you guys could have just been re-queued into a new game.
Exactly. Yeah. Or and I mean, absolute worst case scenario, you get a supply drop. You see a bunch of red dots fucking blipping on your map right next to it. Just don't get it. Like, the timer will run out or someone will pick it up pretty soon. Then you can try for another contract.
Exactly.
But, those are really good to do because if you can get it, it's a lot of money. That's like 2 or 3 buybacks.
Yeah.
So, and if you have a bonus, it's probably 3. All things to keep in mind. And if someone else picks it up, by the way, then someone's there. It's another good thing too, is a little bit of intel. But don't be afraid to pick up a bounty if you're playing quads and you're the last person alive, because it might get poached and you get some money. And again, you get intel, so you know that there's like a team around there. So, I'll do that pretty often. If I'm trying to regain, the only thing I can really pick is a bounty. I'll pick it up with absolutely no intention ever of trying to kill them and just hope it gets poached.
Yeah. Same thing with recons, we don't use it for the circle peak really. If it's the only thing close by, we'll grab a recon because they usually don't make you run too far to do it. It's cool. We'll run 150, maybe 200 meters at the most. Sometimes it's fucking 30 meters away. Finish that recon, get the bonus. You don't get a lot of money from recons, but you get the bonus, and then again keep stacking them as the circle keeps closing and new contracts come up. Then you have more options as you rotate into zone. You can pick which one you want to go to.
Yeah, exactly.
Bounty or whatnot.
Exactly. So there you go. Hope that helps. Next, Leia. What's up, Leia? I'm late. Well, you should take a pregnancy test to confirm. But with the changes to perks and addition of balloons, do you think it was okay? It wasn't great. It wasn't my best work, and we'll edit it out. With the changes to perks and addition of balloons, do you think the recon strat might be more viable, especially since more people are no longer running Ghost? It's an interesting question.
I believe the recon strat is not as good because of the map itself. I don't think it's because of the perk changes or anything like that. Trying to think what the balloons would mean. I feel like balloons make recons even worse, don't they?
Well, yeah, like you can get to your next recon sooner.
Oh, I guess we look at it that way. Yeah, that's true.
People can descend upon you like a swarm of locusts more easily.
Yeah,
also.
People will see you landing there, shoot you out of the sky. We kill so many people out of the air when they balloon, by the way. So one person marks them.
If you see a recon flare and there's a balloon close to you, you can just go dive on them. That's what I meant.
That's true.
But yeah, that is true. Yeah.
But yeah. But no, I think it's pretty obvious that what made recons good in Verdansk was the building. It's like,
exactly.
Look at the top recon players from Verdansk. OP Marks, like number one. What would he do? He'd do a bunch of recons, and then almost always it would be like on a roof of a building. So he'd claymore the entrances up there, and he'd wait on the roof with a sniper and like not peek if he didn't have to, and go for the win. You just can't do that on Caldera. It's like, what is he going to do? Lay in a bush? I mean, you could do that, but that's only going to work for so long. Sure, you may catch someone off guard, but the minute they see you, you have zero cover and you're just going to die.
And with the changes to Ghost, they'll know you're there.
Exactly, yeah. So ultimately, recons, I would like them to just be removed at this point. I would rather it be split up and just like put more scavs or bounties into the mix and just remove recons altogether, because it's obvious no one does the straight up recon strat anymore. Like even OP Marked has said that like recons just don't work on Caldera and he doesn't do them anymore. It's just not the strat doesn't exist on this map. So I would just get them the fuck out of the game, right?
Yeah.
Don't clutter up my mini map with a trash contract that I don't want to do.
I think doing a recon or two can be really good, especially with how dog shit the circle pulls are and how long it takes you to get to the next zone. Knowing where the next zone's going to be can be really helpful, even more so than it was on Verdansk. But in terms of doing the strat to find like the last circle, yeah, like Tanner said, it's not that helpful, because there isn't a building for you to like hold more often than not in that final circle. Yeah. And also, that's not to mention the recon like capture points, the little hard points. They still flare, and they're not in a building most of the time. So you four are going to be jerking each other off, doing a recon, letting everyone know you're there in the complete open. And if someone's around you and they see the flare, you are just fucked, because you're not capping the recon in a building anymore. You're capping it in the middle of, on like the side of a hill, and you can just get royally fucked. So they're like more dangerous to do now too. So I think they are less effective than they used to be, not more. And I don't think the balloons or the perk changes or anything really affects that at all. I think they are less useful as a strat. I think the one or two contracts individually are even better than they used to be, because it's harder to get into next zone. So knowing that and having the ability to plan more, I think they're stronger. But I don't think you should opt to do a full recon strat game. I don't think it's going to be as useful anymore now. Next, from this Justin86, change it. Is a boring meta better than a couple things being more overpowered? Not something like the DMR broken, but think M16 broken. Is that meta better than a balanced meta that's kind of boring like we have now, Tanner?
I mean, in terms of
a good question, actually.
Playing the game every day, the more balanced meta is just better overall for the health of the game. But all those metas, you know, made a lot of people talk about Warzone, that was for sure. Fuck it, you know, Charlie Intel articles every other day, YouTubers making these videos about the broken whatever in Warzone. So it kind of put a lot of eyes on Warzone, but it wasn't necessarily fun to play. Like the DMR meta was, you know, fun for a day. That was, I think, my highest kill game ever on Verdansk came during the DMR meta.
Yeah.
We had a barn burner.
Oh God, what was that?
Lumber.
We
got lumber the entire game.
Yeah. Yep. Just ripping kids crossing that ravine. Yeah.
It's only fun for a very short period of time. And that's what I was going to say next, Justin. Yeah. I think the most fun meta we had in Verdansk with broken overpowered guns was the burst M16 with an axial 3 times, which was a sniper scope at the time. It felt so fucking fun to use. Anyone on the smallest head glitch on Verdansk, which was every gunfight you had, some guy in a roof, one burst, boom, no recoil with a sniper scope on a M16, you'd rip that guy off, you'd down it. It was very fun to play with. Again, though, it's great until you get shot by it, and then it's immediately not fun. So, like, at the end of the day, I would much rather have a boring open meta where I'm not just getting farmed to one particular gun all day long. It's just better for, like, the overall health of the game, and it's also more interesting to be able to mix it up. Like, even now, I use different guns all the time. One game I'll use XM4, the next game I'll grab a Cold War AK, the next game I'll grab an EM2, the next game I'll try to snipe. You know, it's fun to be able to do that versus in these, you know, pretty overpowered metas, there's one gun that you see ever, and it gets boring pretty fast.
Yeah. I'll also add here that a balanced meta is not necessarily boring. The reason the meta is kind of boring right now, even though it's fairly balanced, is because the best guns, although the Cold War AK, the EM2, and the XM4 are all balanced and have different pros and cons relative to each other, they're still the best ARs in the game right now, and they're fucking old, and I've used them all too much. So, like, we could have, in theory, a meta where the best 5 assault rifles are all the Vanguard guns that are still new and fresh, and then that would be both a balanced meta and a really fun meta that wouldn't be boring. That's the best case scenario. I don't think a balanced meta has to be a boring meta, and we saw this in Verdansk toward the end of its life cycle. Again, I love to bring this up because it's a great example with the SMGs. The SMG meta toward the end of Verdansk was super balanced. It was not boring because you could use a bunch of different shit, and it was like fine, but it wasn't boring. It was just balanced, and that is certainly a lot more fun than dying at 25 meters to an R9 Dragon Breath shotgun. So I think you can have the best of both worlds, a balanced meta that isn't boring, but that's contingent on the newer guns being good. And right now we don't have that. With that said, I would still take this meta over going back to everyone using a Bruin or a Grau or an M16 or a DMR or an AUG. I still think this is better. I still have more fun.
The FFAR one was super toxic as well, because that thing would beam at 100 meters and kill faster than any SMG up close. That was a toxic meta.
That was super the double AR meta, yeah.
Oh my god, yeah, it was the double AR meta.
FFAR with the M16.
Oh god, yeah. Yeah, the time to kill in general during that meta was, god, some of the lowest it's ever been, because you would just get fried up close so fast you'd be dead.
Yeah.
Couldn't even react.
And kids would just strafe on you like a fairy, just so quick.
Oh,
dude.
That was when it had that stock, yeah, yep. Before they nerfed those Cold War stocks. Oh my god. You would be essentially sprinting left and right. Yeah. My god.
Yeah. Another thing when something is super broken is that if you're fighting someone with Lodi and you don't have it, you're hopeless. You're hopelessly fucked. I mean, if you were getting pushed by someone with an M16 FFAR and you had ground loot, I mean, you're never winning. It's not possible. But in a balanced meta, you have a chance. Like if someone has a Cold War AK and I have a ground loot blue STG, if I'm better, I'm going to win. Like, it's good enough. Like, I'm disadvantaged, yeah, but it's absolutely good enough because the meta's fairly balanced and none of the ARs are super broken right now. But like in these super toxic metas, if they had loadout and you don't, you're never winning. It's not possible. So, yeah, I'll take the quote-unquote boring meta all day. Overpowered shit is not fun. It is when you're fucking frying with it, but the novelty wears off super quick, and you can also, everyone else is using it also, so yeah. So, anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, what else do we have here? Let's see. Ox, which weapon meta did you enjoy playing the most? Due to the guns, not necessarily the state of the game at the time.
As I said, my favorite in terms of like the broken, overpowered meta was definitely the M16 with the pre-patch axial.
What about just all-time metas?
What about what?
All-time, overpowered or not. Is that still your favorite?
I think it is, honestly. There's just something about burst guns, just being able to one tap someone off a heady, that just feels really, really good. That and what gun was like hit scan for a bit?
SPR? It was the SPR, but you might be thinking
yeah, that was fun.
One.
Yeah, no, that was fun when it was hit scan for a short while, but there's only so much you could do with that. That only really changed it at range, shooting people from far away. But yeah, I think it'd still just be the M16 with axial all around. That was the most fun for me.
Mine, this is easy clap freelo answer for me. Mine was the AMAX / Kilo meta. Those were the two most popular ARs. And then there was a secret third AR that you could really only use if you were on keyboard and mouse, which is why most people didn't use it. But it was in fact the best, most fun, deeply satisfying gun to use of all time in any first-person shooter ever.
That's insane.
Second only to the KN-57 from BO4, which is the best, my favorite gun to use ever. Which is, of course, the Ram 7. That meta farted all over all the other metas. The AMAX,
I can't believe you
Kilo,
thought it was so fun to use. I don't get that, man.
It's just it's so good, dude. The Kilo, the AMAX, and the Ram, when they were good, were all very balanced with each other, which for Verdansk, having a long-range meta where there are 3 different super viable options, that might have been the only time that was true. I literally can't think of another time in the entire life cycle of Verdansk where there were multiple primary weapons that were viable. We started with the M4 meta, and then I think we went to the Grau meta, and then the Bruin meta, and then this Kilo Ram meta, AMAX meta, when the AMAX came out. I think it was the Kilo before that. I don't remember exactly
Kilo, I
the
think,
order.
was I don't think Kilo and AMAX were ever meta at the time. I think it was just, that was, at that point when the AMAX was out, I'm pretty sure the Kilo had already...
No.
Had it already
not.
been nerfed to hell?
No, because that was the big divide. The schism.
Was it?
Was Kilo versus AMAX.
It was the console kids on the Kilo, and then...
K-Bam on AMAX.
Or just PC on AMAX, because the field of view
True,
makes it seem like the recoil was less. It wasn't that.
A lot of controller
it was,
players were on AMAX, yeah. Yeah, and the Ram, which like Tfue used and like a handful of K-Bam streamers used. And you could really see how much they farted on kids. And the Ram is just impossible to use if you're on a controller. Like, I totally believe that. Because it just goes left. Doesn't even go up. It goes left. And on a mouse, it's super easy to control. You just plant that wrist and just slightly to the right, and it doesn't move. And it had a nice damage fucking range, nice damage, nice multipliers, nice fire rate. Fuck, it was fun, man. I loved the Ram, dude.
I never thought it was satisfying. I could never get into the Ram.
Satisfying, man.
Even in multiplayer, I didn't like it in MW multiplayer that much. I don't know.
I think it's because you have played FPS games for so long that you're so used to and good at controlling traditional recoil, which is to pull down, that you don't want to bother like learning or getting used to like
maybe.
a different recoil pattern. Whereas
it was different like every gun ever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I was still, and still am probably, new enough at the time to like K-BAM that like I wasn't super fucking used to pulling down or anything. It wasn't that much of a shock to me. But yeah, that was my favorite meta. God, it was fun, man. So fun.
L's right. The when the Cold War LMG came out, the MG82, that was fun for a few days with the axial. Dude. Zero recoil, zero. I remember playing Plunder, the whole lobby landing at storage, everyone using that sucker, man. Yep. Leveling it up. Oh my god, it was broken. It was broken. And that gun's actually, well, I haven't used it on Caldera, but even towards the end of Verdansk, when it had been nerfed, it was still a viable gun because the recoil just goes straight up. You could mount that sucker and it would still have no recoil almost.
Yeah, it still had a really good TTK and high fire rate. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember one time we were all driving in Stadium and there was some guy and we all had Lodi. We were, of course, all using the MG82. And like someone was like, oh, there's a guy on the stairs. Three of us start shooting at him in the car while driving. And Jake was driving. And the guy's just, wait, let me do a good clap. I can't get it. I can't, it doesn't matter. Sorry.
Holy shit, you're terrible at clapping.
I was trying to get, that was a
good one.
There we go. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Just instantly deleted. And Jake started fucking cracking up laughing. He just couldn't even talk. He was probably high as shit because he's a drug user, addict, degenerate loser.
Like everyone in our Discord, yeah.
Who's worse than I am because I got 12 kills in a game yesterday and he had fewer than that because I'm better than Jake at Warzone in any FPS game. But
true.
He was crying laughing and I just fondly remember that moment because the gun was so broken, dude. So fucking giga broken, man.
Yeah.
It was fun. But then you got shot by it and then it wasn't fun anymore.
Exactly.
So, you know.
Yeah, it was fun for a second.
Yeah. Yeah. So, anyway. But yeah, I'm with the Ram. That was my favorite meta. For sure. Okay, let's see. Let's do a couple more here, Tanner. What do you say?
Sure.
Okay. I know we have a couple more, right? Okay, this Justin asked, I'll phrase this comment as a question. Got it. Do you think Warzone would be better if we didn't have guys like Sim, TGD, and JGod? So Sim's not a guy, he's referring to the website, because I thought you were referring to Symphony and you confused me.
I did too, until I was like, why is he throwing? And then I also saw TGD and thought,
the gaming definition. That was my first thought as well, because it was with Symphony. So I was like, okay, he doesn't like K-BAM players. And then JGod, and then it clicked. So phrase your statement that you phrased as a question better, but got it. So like the website, the Gunsmith website, JGod giving you all the stats. Remember at first when you would discover something you maybe thought was busted was a lot of fun in my opinion. So would the game be better if there weren't nerds doing analytics, feeding us the optimum gun setups all the time? We've answered this before. We'll answer it again, Tanner.
I don't think so. There's a lot of people that think that, but they also fix a lot of issues. They'll do testing and realize something is off, make a video about it, and within days that will be a fixed issue that no one knew existed.
True.
Like broken attachments, broken guns. So it's good to have them in that aspect, but let's say none of them existed and we were all just playing Warzone on Caldera right now with 10 attachments trying our best. I think overall it would make the time to kill a lot slower because people wouldn't necessarily know what the meta setups are. They wouldn't know. I feel like people wouldn't be calling down because calling down actually because it increases your fire rate, you're hitting more bullets, doing less damage, but you're hitting more bullets with less recoil too. So you're killing people faster than if you don't cal down. I would have never thought that would have been a thing. I would have just used extended mags like we did on Warzone the previous, 2 years, or year. So I don't know. I don't really have a strong opinion on this either way. I don't really care. I'm not against any of them by any means that they exist. I think it's fine. I don't think they necessarily ruin the game. I I don't know. I don't care enough about that topic to really have a strong opinion on it either way. Some people just get deep into this and they're like, fuck J God, he ruins the game. I'm like, I don't care. You know?
I just don't accept that the game would even be different. Like, imagine in the MG82 meta, if J God and the gaming definition and none of the I'm going to call them the nerds now, if they didn't exist or make videos, you would die to an MG82 once, and then you would use it too. And then inside of an hour, everyone would be using it anyway. Like, the good guns would still be used just as often as they are now without them. Because you're playing the fucking game. So if you're using a Volk and you're losing every gunfight and every other person is using fucking Cold War AK, you're going to clue in pretty quick and use it yourself. And then when you kill someone who's using a STG, that person's going to figure it out. And people are going to figure out what the best guns are, whether these people have the data on it or not. I just don't accept that the game would literally even be different. All these people do is give you the numbers explaining why this gun's better than that one, and people figure it out a little sooner than they otherwise would, maybe, but it wouldn't actually change the meta. And to think that J-God is the reason people figured out the DMR was broken is just ridiculous. Like, that's not the case. Someone would have used a DMR once and been like, holy fuck, dude, pick this up. Give it to his friend, then their whole team's using it, then they kill a streamer, and then we're off to the races. Everyone's using a DMR. Might take an extra 3 hours, but it wouldn't change anything. I just don't accept that.
The thing is, too, they haven't been as crazy as they, or in terms of like making videos like this as they were in Verdansk. Like going into Caldera, they were not big on that. Like early into Caldera, I don't remember J-God even having a bunch of videos about like meta setups. They've essentially they
fell off.
Got it. Yeah. It's like they just stopped caring about making videos like that and just kind of stopped. I think J-God even said that on Twitter one time. He's just like, I don't care enough anymore to just always make like the meta broken setups. Like, I don't know. He said something to that extent. So they haven't been doing it as much. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Definitely less than it was on Verdansk. Like Verdansk, we just, it's
so much more work now.
Exactly. With like the 10 attachments and everything too. It's annoying. Yeah.
And by the way, if you're J-God can spend a couple hours making a spreadsheet, a Google Doc, and testing in game to make a video on some gun, or he can spectate random solos while drunk and upload that YouTube video. They're both going to get the same amount of views. What do you think I would pick? I mean, of course. Of course I'm taking the fucking easy option. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. It's no surprise that he's like bored of doing it. Like, why put in all this extra work to get no extra revenue?
Yeah. Like, I feel like now the meta kind of shifts and then they make a video on it. Like, oh, this is like the latest meta MP40.
Exactly.
Whereas like in Verdansk, they're like, use this gun. This thing is broken. Use this for this range. So I don't know. It's like, they're even making videos probably and still saying the auto is a good AR, which I personally just completely disagree with. Whereas like, back in the Verdansk days, pretty much any setup they gave was like the meta broken setup. So,
yeah, true. So anyway, yeah. If Justin, if you think they're ruining your Warzone experience, they're not. I just use a Cold War AK, bud. You'll be happy. Just take it from us.
The people that like really get into that and like tell them on their YouTube comments on Twitter like that they're ruining the game are all like the actual 0.2 KD dads that are using like a M4 with an underbarrel smoke launcher and like a thermal scope. It's like, you just don't. You've never once realized that you lose 8 out of 10 gunfights and have never thought that, well, one, you're horrible, but also two, maybe it's the gun you're using. No, they just don't put it together. And then they just blame people like that because they're not a high skill enough player to even have an opinion, really. I mean, don't have an opinion on anything. That's what I think. So,
yeah, I agree. So,
yeah, shout out to the 0.2 KD dads, though.
Yeah, good fodder. Oxford J asked, would the AMAX pre-nerf be the best AR right now? Of course not. Moves way too slow. Health values have changed. Cold War guns exist. I mean, I could have...
Have you looked at the AMAX on Sim lately to see how like just the time to kill lines up?
We could take a peek, but I'm guessing
I'll take a peek right now.
I'm guessing it's somewhat competitive with like a Cold War AK, but Cold War AK is also way easier to use, has way better mobility, and why wouldn't I use that? That would be my guess.
That's the thing about the MW guns is the mobility is awful, yeah.
Really?
I'm just going to look at actual time to kill. Let's just compare it straight to let's do a Cold War AK. That. All right, let's take a look at the time to kill. 300 health. AMAX kills faster at almost all ranges. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see here. I'll pull it up as well.
Same thing when you mix in a headshot. It has an insane headshot multiplier as well.
Yeah,
it kills faster with headshot.
Upper chest, faster TTK by 40 milliseconds, which you're going to spend all of that time and more ADSing with an AMAX probably.
True.
Movement speed's worse, but yeah, got a better headshot multiplier.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't think.
They're just, so maybe the mobility's too bad on them.
Fuck, maybe. I don't know. It's possible.
Yeah,
the mobility, if you guys haven't used an MW gun in a while, go try it. Because even compared to a Cold War gun, it's just so bad. And what this chart doesn't take into account is just how much more recoil an AMAX has than a Cold War AK.
Wow, it has a lot of bullet drop too. I did not know that. But yeah, it's
like
worse.
Cold War guns have the task force barrel, they have the field agent, and they have the fucking agency suppressor that like really help your recoil control. And AMAX has what? Commando foregrip, that's it. And the barrel doesn't.
True.
It's like so much more recoil.
Yeah.
What were you going to say though? I interrupted you, sorry.
Oh yeah, like it has worse tack sprint, just forward walking movement speed, backwards walking speed, and strafe speed. All of that is worse than like a Cold War AK.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, horrible ADS time, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like 60 milliseconds worse.
I don't think it would be that good. Okay, let's see. Any more here? All right, I don't see any more. I think we'll end it there. Tanner, what do you say?
Sure.
All right. Chat, that's it. We hope you guys enjoyed. Tried to do a little different style of episode today. If you listened to this podcast, let us know your thoughts on this format. If you guys enjoy it, we can do this more often. And if you didn't enjoy it, then you can let us know in Discord and we'll ban you. I'm kidding. We would want to know that as well. So let us know if you enjoyed it. And if you did, we can do this more often. And then you guys listening can maybe prepare to ask questions on Twitter for the next time we do this. Or just be here live and ask in chat as well. Those are things we will be doing if we do this again. So hope you enjoyed. That's it. We'll see you guys next week. We have things planned for sure, and we'll put them in the Discord. Join the fucking Discord, sure. And we will tweet our schedule on Twitter at the Dropshot Pod. Make sure to follow. Best way to support the show, obviously, is patreon.com/the Dropshot. We do 7 bonus episodes a month, monthly hangouts, and more. This month, we're doing our first ever The Dropshot movie night. We're still honing in on a movie. We've got the roundtable coming up on a date. So keep that in mind as well. I do read chat, Chris. I just purposely ignore you and only you. And get scammed. And fuck you. Plus you're old. Plus thanks. And once again, patreon.com/dropshot. Best way to support the show. 7 bonus episodes a month. We offer all of our bonus content there. That is the most bang for your buck to support the program. And it's the most helpful to us as well. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next week. Thank you for listening. Have an excellent evening, of course. And as always, remember... Devil.